Did we really want to see her kiss that frat boy, weenie boy there at the end? I don't think so. Okay, next week I have to drive a certain someone out to Laughlin, Nevada for her 30-year soap opera reunion, but the week after that we're showing the classic Hitchcock flick, The Birds, and we'll be joined by none other than the beautiful and talented Tippi Hedren. Okay, now the party's really going to start with the aptly named Grimm. That's the name of the movie, and that's my review of the movie. It's kind of a very late 90s party we're having here because, you know, does this sound familiar to you? What you been doing? Partying. What you gonna do this week? I don't know, party. Want to go to the movies? No, I think I'll just party. You got friends like that? You ever notice that people whose life revolves around the word party never actually go to a party? If you ever said, great, let's party, where's the party? They'd have to say, there's not any party, man, we're just gonna, you know, party. So there's a whole lot of partying going on, but no actual parties. When did the word party start meaning the same thing as I think I'll just sit around on my butt and get drunk and watch TV and not go anywhere, and maybe later some other people will come over and sit around on their butts right next to my butt and I can bum smokes off of them or something. You know, in the 60s, they had this phrase they'd use, wild party. It was hip. It meant all those substances I'm not allowed to talk about on TNT and those ladies in the silver miniskirts who got wasted and danced naked in the moonlight on Fifth Avenue terraces, right? Every 60s comedy has a wild party scene. And then party became a verb, you know, let's party. And then party became a word used by working girls. Would you like to party with me? And then it became a sort of kind of sometimes sexual invitation as used in singles bars. We were thinking of partying later. You know, and then sometime in the 80s, it became a different word for guys and gals, because girls say, let's party, and they generally mean, let's dance. Music is necessary, right? There's no party without music. But when guys say it, they generally mean, let's get drunk and watch the girls dance. So music isn't absolutely necessary, but it helps. And now in the 90s, it means, I'm bored. You know, what are you doing tonight? Partying. Oh, we did that last night. I can't think of anything else. Okay, we'll party, but tomorrow night, let's do something. In other words, party now means I'll get a six-pack. Anybody want pizza? This is weird, don't you think? Am I the only person that notices this stuff? All right, well, speaking of dominoes, we've got a pepperoni-faced Bigfoot coming up, and he lives in a cave that's way too dark for the 16-millimeter camera they're using to photograph him. And the basic plot of this is that if you mess around with a Ouija board and you concentrate real hard, you'll get sucked through stone walls, stripped down to your lingerie, and chained up like a wild animal, while the beast with a face like a Fiesta Mexicana plate makes Kung Pao chicken out of human organs. So let's do the drive-in totals and get it started. 13 dead bodies, no breasts, face chewing, stabbing, skull crushing, liver cleaving, torch foo, monster cam, gratuitous rekindled romance, 1.5 stars. Check it out and I'll be here as your spelunker. I'll explain that at the first break. We have ways of making you watch. I just hate when that happens. You're doing your toenails and the monster comes and drags you through the floor and eats you. How about those opening titles? The movie stars Emmanuel Chuereb. X-U-E-R-E-B. Now, I'm not saying Emmanuel has substandard representation, but somebody should have said, Emmanuel, that X-U sound at the beginning of your name is not really movie star material. You know, a screen name that sounds like an Aztec demon is not what we're going for in leading men these days. Not to mention Nesba Crenshaw, Jules de Jong, Nadia Delamony, Peter Treglowan, and the actress known only as Kadamba. We'll talk about her later, but at this point, my only point is, you know, you can go to Walgreens and get one of those books of baby names. You can go to a website. We might even have baby names on tnt.turner.com/JoeBob. Anyhow, it's not like this is something that's too weird to figure out. Did they cast this thing in an Esperanto convention or what? Oh. Actually, this movie's about 4 years old, and very little is known about it except that it was made over in the Clearwell Caves of Gloucestershire, England, where many smelly, hairy, flesh-eating anthropoids have been discovered, as a matter of fact. When you think about it, why don't they make more horror movies in England? England is just not scary for some reason, you know? Train Spotting, that was scary. Anyway, let's see where this thing is going. Shakespeare in Love, that was very scary. Whew.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and Grimm after these messages.
So now we know that Bigfoot is a part lion, part gorilla who can walk through walls and likes the ladies. And speaking of the ladies, I think we all know who our favorite spelunker is. Katie, right? We'd all like to do a little spelunking with Katie. That's Kadamba Simmons, whose screen name was simply Kadamba. And I say was because, sadly, she was killed last year by her jealous ex-boyfriend. She was only 24 years old. For those of you who followed Kadamba's career, it was not the guy from the band Oasis, Liam Gallagher. He was a different ex-boyfriend. And it was not Prince Nassim, the boxer. He was also a different ex-boyfriend. And not Nellie Hooper, Madonna and Bjork's record producer. He goes all the way back to when Kadamba was 19. The gal was popular, wasn't she? No, the jerk who killed her was Yaniv Malka, former Israeli soldier turned mobile sandwich stand manager, I'm not making this up, who strangled her and then strung her naked body up by a shower rod. And in court, he claimed that it was a botched double suicide. He claimed that they agreed that she had witches inside her and she wanted to end it all. And he produced evidence that he tried to kill himself, apparently by taking a butter knife to his wrist and drinking a little bleach cocktail or something. Well, now that we're all cheered up, let's watch some commercials. You know what I say about that story, though? Whoa. That's all. Whoa.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and Grimm after these messages.
Well, I don't want to say this movie is slow, but my sisters can raise children in less time than it takes that toothy, skanky, muscle-faced monster with the huge, ugly feet to walk across that cave. You know what? Looks like they got the same cameraman who did the immortal Howling 7. That guy's made a whole career out of that red filter monster's eye view. Although actually the cameraman may very well be one of the actors, because most of the scenes look like they locked that camera down, turned it on, then ran out in front of it to do their lines. Okay, let's see what the monster's gonna do to our friend Trish. I love a good spelunking movie. Spelunker, meaning one whose hobby is speleology. Speleology from the Greek speleion, or cave. Therefore, speleology is the science of exploring caves inhabited by monsters that smell bad and pull babes through their suburban shag carpeting while they're giving themselves pedicures. Why is a person who makes a hobby of speleology called a spelunker and not a speleologist? Questions will be explored as we attempt to get through this movie. The Greek for cave is speleion, but the Latin for cave is spelunca. Coincidence or an attempt to confuse? Who can say? Find out later. Couple more commercials.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and Grimm after these messages.
Just some torches and some skeletons and a lazy boy recliner. Let's go down there. Not a lot of plot twists in this flick, are there? Yuppies go into cave, yuppies go deeper into cave, yuppies see torches and go even deeper into cave. But Tress Hanley gives a heck of a performance, doesn't she? She plays Penny, the blonde in the red jumpsuit. Not really the best look for her, because I'm sure you recognize her. Miss New Jersey, 1981. The one who got second runner-up in Miss America. So what's she doing wearing a red jumpsuit is my question. Tress is a big star over in England. Okay, maybe not a star over in England, but she has firmly established herself as an actress. She has a burgeoning career. See her in the current flick Eyes Wide Shut as coffee shop manager. Okay, back in a bit. I guess most folks might recognize her as Drusilla Huggy Rumpelmeyer on One Life to Live. Everybody remembers Huggy Rumpelmeyer, right? Remember when her evil twin was sleeping with her husband while she had amnesia from the car accident? I couldn't tear myself away from the TV.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and Grimm after these messages.
So wait, Steve is possessed by the monster too? Do we know what the rules are here? I don't think they've properly established the rules here. Steve and Katie and Wendy and some other guy, Biffy or Boffy or something, had a little seance and woke up a rock that turned into a monster. And Wendy got sucked into the ground and Katie got possessed. But now Steve is also possessed. And what happened to Biffy? Where is he? And Rob did something bad to Penny when they were dating, but he's the consummate professional spelunker. So he's led them all into the bowels of Woodland Hills, Virginia, where he and Penny share soda pop while the monster shoves styrofoam boulders around and eats people's faces off. Is that about some of it? Actually, he eats some people's faces off. The cute ones, he just chains up. Well, maybe it'll get clearer after these commercials. No, it won't. No, it won't. Why do I even say that? These people are all acting in different movies, aren't they? They get paid to make us suffer, don't they? I want them all eaten, and quickly.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and Grim after these messages.
All right, what does that mean? It's still alive. It's in my head. It's a Bigfoot with telepathic powers who worships the devil. We got the pentagrams now. And does anyone besides me want everybody to take off those dang helmets? I'm over the helmets. Good screaming in that part, though. Kadamba Simmons and Tress Handley, a couple of great screamers. Definitely one of the finest horror movies ever made in Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire, home of the Duke of Gloucester. All right, let's do the ads and get back to the thrilling climax of Grim. Good titling, too. Once you get outside London, though, I'm lost. Gloucestershire, Worcestershire, Twickenham. Where's Twickenham? Actually, once you get outside Heathrow, I'm lost. Every time I'm over there, they put me on those BBC radio stations. Joe Bob Briggs, you know. They've never mentioned this movie, come to think of it. Why? Because they sent it over here for a reason.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision and Grim after these messages.
Wait a minute. The way you kill the monster is you shine your flashlight in his eyes? That's it? Didn't he strangle that gal Trish while the light on her helmet was shining right in his face? Suddenly they apply vampire rules to the Bigfoot guy. See, you got to set up the rules early and then stick to the rules. How many times do I have to say this? And are we supposed to be happy or scared that old Mary and the Teddy is still chained up down there? I don't know. Anyway, I want to remind you that we're not here next week, but in 2 weeks, the gracious and gorgeous Tippi Hedren will be joining us while we watch her fight off nature gone awry in the great Alfred Hitchcock flick, The Birds. And I guess that's it for me, Joe Bob Briggs, reminding you that you can keep puking long after you think you're finished. How many nuclear engineers does it take to change a light bulb? 7, 1 to install the new bulb, and 6 to figure out what to do with the old one for the next 10,000 years. Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. You didn't like that one? How many frat boys does it take to change the light bulb? 5, 1 to hold the bulb, and 4 to guzzle beer until the room spins. How many lesbians does it take to change the light bulb? 3, 1 to screw it in, and 2 to talk about how much better it is without a man. How many Christian scientists does it take to change the light bulb? None, but it takes at least 1 to sit and pray for the old one to go back on. How many Zen masters does it take to change a light bulb? A tree in a golden forest. You didn't like that? How many straight San Franciscans does it take to change a light bulb? Both of them. How many software designers does it take to change a light bulb? None, that's a hardware problem. How many hardware designers does it take to change the light bulb? None, that's a software problem. How many believable, competent, just right for the job presidential candidates does it take to change the light bulb? Gonna be a dark 4 years, isn't it?